Sometimes artists on social media will be scrolling along and they see another artist do something cool, and they'll get really inspired. They'll say, hey, I want to go and try that, and then sometimes actually go and try that. I'm the same way. I'm just like any other artist on social media, and sometimes it turns out, fine, and other times it turns out like dog water. Well, today, you'll get to be the judge of that. Jackie Doujko, YouTuber and professional animator, made 2 videos about gesture drawing cosplayers, and turning them into full-blown art pieces later. So, of course, I love how it turned out, and I'm like, I like cosplay, I've done gesture drawings, and I want to do that too. So I'm gonna. Let's get started. To get started, I'll need reference. I'll be using Zeet Studio Sketch. They have recordings of models and cosplay that you can purchase, and they do a whole bunch of poses that are like super great for art reference. They have like a pretty large archive that you can buy for like $10 a pop. On top of that, they have an artist to demo it so you can see how they approach costumes and poses. Honestly, it's some good stuff. Jackie did 2 different ones, Barbie, which is like she's the artist that demoed that session, but in this video, she also does a full piece of Jinx from Arcane. Well, League of Legends. Look, I've never played League, and real talk, I'm never gonna play League. But Arcane was cool though. I see 2 Spider-Man options here, with Miles Morales and Spider-Punk. Look, I'm never gonna beat Spider-Man allegations if I keep picking Spider-Man. There's Ryuko from Kill la Kill. Studio Trigger is crazy expressive. Plus, I'm all about girls with bad attitudes. Let's go with this pack. Now that we have a reference, it's time to start with gesture drawing. So, Dean, what is a gesture drawing? It's an art exercise where you try and capture the essence, movement, and the pose of the subject in just a couple of minutes. Like, you have to be finished by then. You can do like a few at once, and then the pose changes every minute or so. So what's the point of it, you might ask? For one, it helps you warm up and loosen up so you aren't stiff while you're drawing. Stiff in your muscles, but also stiff in your lines. Like, it helps you make loose, flowing marks instead. In a perfect world, you do this every time you start drawing. Another thing, gestures are good for as it helps you instinctively understand form. The big fundamental concept of form, anatomy, and balance, and proportions and whatnot. All the art basics you probably missed out on. Believe me, your art journey always ends up with you going back to the basics, whether it's your first time or whether you're going back to brush up on your skills. I've gone to 2 different art schools, so I'm familiar with doing gestures, but I really haven't done it since then, and it's been 10 years since college? It's been that long? What have I done with my life? Oh well, enough existential dread. I could deal with that off screen. So in this gesture drawing session, there's 10 poses that take 1 minute, 10 poses that take 2 minutes, then 10 poses that take 5 minutes. You get the picture. To make this a bit more difficult for myself, because I have a lot of self-hate, and I love a challenge, I'm not going to use a pencil. I know myself. If I have an eraser, I'm going to want to use it. And the whole point is supposed to be making marks because I don't have time for all of that. So instead, I'm going to use a Pentel brush pen. It's very expressive. I've always had fun using this thing. And most importantly, I'm worried about speed and getting down the essence. So let's begin. And you guys can totally judge me on what comes out because it's just for exercise. Plus, anything you say, well, I guarantee I will be saying meaner stuff in the back of my head. Well, let's take a look at these and do a bit of a critique, maybe? Oof, definitely not my best work. I miss my pencil. But we gotta persevere, guys. We gotta get back on that saddle. Let's do it. Alright, well, in Jackie's video, she talks about how some artists end up taking gesture drawings into full-on paintings, with paint, which is really cool and very professional, but that's something I'm definitely not going to do. And what I mean by that is that's what I'm going to do, just not with paint. Because the key difference here is that I'm not a painter. Actually, I'm not even a digital painter. I like drawing and I like doing it on paper. Look, man, I look at screens for hours at a day at my day job, and even more to create my videos. I just want to touch something with my hands. I don't know, brass maybe? The less screen time, the better. So after about 30 fucking minutes of this, it's time to take this a step further. I've decided to pick this gesture, which I'll do my best. Well, I like this one right here the most, so it is now time to redraw to the best of my abilities. I'll stick to using my ink pens like microns, and then color it with like alcohol markers and then Prismacolors. I'll be doing this at like 14 by 11 because I just so happen to have a pack of that and someone's gotta draw on it. Also, I think drawing bigger here will get more detail that I could actually out of my tiny little sketchbook. Before I get started, I wanted to mention that I did pull up her character turnaround reference just so I can make sure I get what I'm seeing down correctly. And one other thing, so because of how the camera captured the cosplayer is actually mirrored. So Ryuko's red streak in uniform is meant to be on the opposite side. So I went ahead and fixed that in my piece. I sketched out my bigger Ryuko here. I tried to scale it here to take up the appropriate amount of space. I'm trying to make sure that I keep the essence of the cosplayer, but also pulling some elements from Trigger's style while keeping my own style, so it's like a mosh podge. I pulled some background elements from a few screenshots from the video game Kill la Kill If. Shocking that Kill la Kill even got a video game, but okay. It was super handy. I went ahead and then inked this thing. I outlined using like an 08 pen and then an 01 for all the details. I want to make sure that I fill in like all of the black. My goal for my style is to have some heavy blacks like you would see in like a comic book, and go ahead and do my base colors with all my alcohol markers. I use Copic and Ohuhu markers because I have no brand loyalty at all. I use whatever is convenient. For all of that shading, I use Prismacolor pencils. I don't use colored pencils all that often, and I don't think I'm that proficient with them yet, but this turned out okay. I think next time for the background, maybe I should use some like watercolors or inks. So I'm just like not using my fancy markers and pencils. And here is the finished piece. This actually turned out a lot better than I thought it was going to. It's also the second piece I did at this scale this year. It also made me remember why I don't draw this big, because this roughly took 10 hours to do, and that's just a lot of time for someone who just does not have a lot of it. However, I really did like my results. If you'd like me to try and do something like this again with another of Zeet Studio Sketch's archives, let me know in the comment section below, and also let me know what you think. But that's all I got for you today, guys, and I will see you guys next time.